Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Owoleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. As usual, we're here today with Barrister Austin Manta. He is a legal practitioner, a very senior one at that, and a public affairs analyst as well. We are expecting Segun Onibio, a journalist, to join us any moment from now. He's supposed to be here, but I don't know, for whatever reason, he's here to join us. So whenever he joins us, we'll introduce him to the show, on the show rather. Yeah, Barrister, you just, obviously I forwarded a video to you. I hope you obviously know you, I think you confirmed to me you watched it. So you saw the African guy there. What's your opinion? What do you think? Now, for viewers, the video is about a youth, a Kenyan youth. It's one of the boy is or the man rather is an adult. Is one of the youths protesting against Ruto, the president of Kenya. I think he was arrested and arraigned in court. So in court, I don't know, you guys, maybe I may upload the clip on this show, but I'm not sure yet. But if you've not seen the clip and you want to watch you're interested in watching the clip, please let me know in the comment section, and just send a message, make a comment, and comment on this show, on the session, the comment section. Then I'll probably upload it for you to watch. Yes, so the young man was arraigned for protesting, and was charged for whatever crime. I think just a minor crime actually. So the man, to me, is a very courageous man. He was courageous even in the presence of the judge and his lawyer. I see in the video, even when his lawyer was trying to calm him down to stop him from whatever, the man was just venting probably was obviously speaking for the most part of Kenyans. It's sort of, so because everybody probably seems to be suffering the same thing, or not everybody, but the majority seem to be suffering the same thing. So he probably more obviously was speaking on behalf of so many Kenyans. It's sort of, he didn't listen to his lawyer, and he just went on venting his frustration, and that eventually the security, I think court security or court police took him away. But I think the court actually handled him very, very in a civilized way. In fact, I am happy. I'm happy the court, actually the judge and the people in the court, the court security actually behaved themselves in a very, very, unlike some situation where you will see the man they won't even allow him to speak. He will be manhandled and taken away or whatever. But the court was patient to listen to him to an extent that they had to quietly and respectfully take him away. So eventually, but that is just a barrister. What's your opinion about that? We shall be talking about the everything, some of the things the man said on the clip. What do you think about that?
Thank you very much, JIBRIN. I listened to the clip. I was impressed by the courage and determination of the young man. And I want to say that in every African country today, and here in Nigeria, you will find several of such young people ready even to give up their lives for pressurizing the government to improve the situation of the people. And I will still repeat that in Kenya, where the people fought militarily for their freedom, for the right to govern themselves. You recall the Mau Mau movement, a lot of people were killed. Maybe if you check where, I'm not saying that is it, but if you check where maybe that young man who has somebody who died in that struggle, or who was incarcerated by the British colonial administration in that struggle. Now to come after that blood and sweat has been shed to have self-governance and to see your own fellow Black people treating you even worse than the British colonial master treated the people is something really, really, really that goes to people's heart. Africa is awakening. Things are happening. People are being driven to the wall. And you are going to see something like that more and more. It reminds me of the speech that Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu and the other freedom fighters in South Africa made back in the early 60s when they were charged to court. It's something like that. The struggle in South Africa went on for long, but eventually there was freedom. In Kenya, there will also be freedom. More and more of such incidents are going to come up because people have been pushed to the wall, particularly the youth. The youth are seeing their parents incapable of doing their own now. They cannot take care of them. And then the youth who should be taking care of the parents are also having nothing to do to take care of their parents. So you now find the whole family being virtually destitute. So people are being pushed to the wall. Don't forget, the Arab Spring started by one man putting himself on fire. That is how the Arab Spring started and snowballed almost throughout the Arab world. One person setting himself on fire to demonstrate the harshness of the society and the irresponsible and unfeeling, insensitive government. So we expect things to follow up, other people to come up, not just in Kenya. We expect things like that to happen in Nigeria as well and other African countries that are reeling under this terrible, terrible economic hardship and dictatorship masquerading as civilian rule. So I am proud, I'm happy to see something like that, and I would like to see it replicated in Kenya and other African countries too.
You see, I forwarded the video to you because I think it was Shegun who sent it to me, and I forwarded it to you because, and that's Shegun has joined us. So Shegun, we're actually discussing that video because I'm trying to make a point from that video. That's why that's our first point of, though it's not on our schedule, but it's important we discuss this because it has to do with Nigeria. I forwarded the video to you so that you can watch it and we'll talk about it. It's not about, I did forward it for us to talk about Kenya. I forwarded it for us because Kenya is supposed to be, I see Kenya as a case study right now for Nigeria and Nigerians. And it's a shame. It's a shame that Nigeria, that is supposed to be the big brother in Africa, everything now we seem to be in the back burner of anything going on in Africa or whatever, whether it is positive or, okay, most positivity is a sort of, I don't want to go, you won't go negative, except negative, Nigeria is always on top, which is just very, very appalling. Negativity, we are always in front of everyone, a sort of, which is, that's a very, very bad record, a sort of. But when it comes to positivity, many African countries that are very, very, compared to Nigeria, are very insignificant. They are just ahead of us in everything or whatever. Just like in the case of Kenya, now this positive, I see it as a very, very positive development. Where you have youths that are so courageous, whatever. You on our previous show, Arisa, you took us back to history, Kenyan history, of how they got their independence, and they kind of, you try to compare it with our own independence. They actually had their independence with blood, sweat and blood. Unlike ours, we had our independence on the platter of gold. And they kind of insinuated justification for them being ahead of us in this issue of protest or whatever. And I'm going to point that again. I pointed it there then, and I'm pointing it out that there is no, if you watch that boy, that is a very, very young, that guy should be in his probably late 20s or to mid 30s or whatever. So it's just, when you say youth, he is really, really in that bracket. So you can see how courageous. Obviously, that boy was not born 60 years ago. So the issue of Kenyans, as you alluded in the past previous edition, the issue of Kenyans, that they are taking the bull by the horn, because they are taking the bull by the horn now against the government, because they are used to it. They are coming from, their foundation is full of blood and whatever. So they already have that spirit, that energy going with them or whatever. It's sort of, honestly, that doesn't hold water, because sometimes, or most times, it's about but some things shouldn't be just given a blanket assessment or judgment or whatever. Most times things are individualistic. And that is it. I expect Nigeria and Nigerians, our youths, in fact, we are all guilty of, everybody, all of us, including myself, we are all guilty of this weakness. In Nigeria, we are so weak. We are. I bet you we all know what's happening in Kenya. Let's be sincere. Can we compare? Is it comparable what Nigerians and Nigeria is passing through right now to Kenya? There's no argument. I don't think anyone will argue anything. Kenya is what Nigeria is passing through economically and otherwise. They are far, 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 far above what Kenya and Kenyans are passing through. The leadership of Kenya is, while they have corrupt leadership as well, Nigeria, we know Nigeria is far, far, far above when it comes to corrupt leadership. Nigeria again is on top of their game in this sort of. So so there is no justification for Nigeria's weakness, for our weakness to actually hold our leaders accountable. Just watch that guy. If you watch that video, you will see the frustration and desperation and the courage. The man that boy was not, he didn't care anymore. Anything that will happen, let it happen. And that is just the sort of, we have to come to that point in Nigeria where we say to the government, we don't care if you want to kill us, go ahead and kill us. How many of us will you kill? That's the point. Sort of. So we should get to that point. We have even gotten to that point where we ought to be that courageous, even taking a step further to being courageous, to hold our government accountable. What they are doing now, we all know that what they are doing is already working. It's already working. Now, what the youths are still protesting right now is for them to detangle themselves from colonialism, and by doing so, they want this man President Ruto, to resign. Sort of, or even upon the appeasement, Ruto have appeased them. Now, I think he has gone further to scrap the office of the First Lady to minimize costs, to save costs. Sort of, he has I think dissolved for the 40 government agencies. So this is apart from withdrawing the salary increase for ministers and legislators. He has gone ahead also to scrap the office of the First Lady and also dissolve 40 government agencies. The protest is working. The protest is yielding fruit. For God's sake. Now, there are two sides of the coin to this. The truth is, I think that Ruto, I think I like the man. He may have done some things wrong, but his response matters to me. I admire, honestly, I commend his response, his sensitivity, his empathy. Because if we had such leaders in Nigeria, even in the past, probably so many things would have, so many things could have been in place at this time. Unfortunately, the leaders, the past and present leaders, have been that of insensitivity and lacked empathy and didn't care, and selfishness, full of selfishness and self-aggrandizement, self-seeking. They kind of exhibit an overwhelming self-seeking attitude. So you can see what Ruto did. For God's sake, the protests have not even gone that so deep. Yet the man chose wisely to listen to his people. At least he's doing something. Unlike our own government, past and present, who don't care. The moment there is a short protest, the next thing they do is they send the military and to the street to start killing people. So, Barrister, you are eager to say something. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think you missed the point I was trying to make in our last discussion on the issue in Kenya. The point I was trying to bring out is that the self-governance that the Kenyans have today was won by blood and sweat, by incarceration, by long detention. It's not, 60 years is not that long. People who are there, the young men who are there have uncles, their fathers, their brothers who died in that struggle, who were imprisoned in that struggle, and their sensitivity to maladministration and misgovernance will always be higher than those who did not commit in terms of blood, in terms of detention, in terms of maimings and incarcerations. Their sensitivity and awareness to hold the government, their own people who struggled with them, to govern them, to hold them accountable is far higher than our own here, where we got it on a platter of gold. And don't forget, the leaders of Kenya, including Ruto, all the leaders of Kenya from Jomo Kenyatta till now are products of that struggle. They are either children of the people who fought or relations of the people who fought during the Mau Mau War. So they are keenly aware that the people know how to fight the government, militarily, with blood and sweat. They're aware of that. Now, juxtapose that with Nigeria, where we did not appreciate, our people did not appreciate the self-governance that we have. And the leaders also know that the civilian population, the rest of the population do not appreciate that this thing, they suffered, they gave their blood, they gave their loved ones to get it. That position is not here. But I also added the caveat that we are reaching that point in Nigeria where people are being pushed to the wall, where people will eventually have to sacrifice. People will come up and sacrifice themselves because the suffering, the sheer volume and amount of suffering is just too much. So that itself is a point to drive people to the edge, and for people to come up and say, I'm ready to die. Whatever you do to me, I'm ready to die, because there's no opening, no avenue for me to vent my anger, to express myself. So we are getting to that position in Nigeria. Remember the NSAS riots? Remember other protests across the country. It's a build-up. And I believe in Nigeria, we will get to that position as well.
Yeah, that NSAS again. Again, we got it wrong there. That's all is true. That NSAS, I don't know why people keep using that as a, because that was something that actually the people who organized that, they did very well. They started well, but they didn't finish well. Yeah, people were killed, and but that is just it. I expected so many other whatever in Nigeria, apart from Lagos or whatever, when that thing happened, some other part of the country, to a kind of pull off kind of spring up similar protests or whatever. But Nigeria, being who we are, unfortunately, all of us are just involved, are just guilty of this kind of omissions that we have this kind of laxity and weak attitude that we've always put on. And that is why our government, our successive government, have always taken advantage of us. They know how weak we are, and that is why people like Tinubu is even the worst so far, whatever. We'll get into that. That's why he's taking off for granted, does whatever he feels he wants, he feels he desires to do, and just spends our money recklessly anyhow. Even when we talk, he just remains adamant and keeps doing what he's doing and doesn't listen to anyone, doesn't listen to public cry. He just goes ahead, just goes on rampage, just exhibiting all manner of arrogance and high-handedness. That is so sad, honestly. Shegun, you can come in, please, if you have something to say about this before we move forward. I can't hear you. Your sound. Okay, while you are adjusting the sound, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I was just saying that it's good. The arguments you've put forward from both sides, they are fantastic. But there's something we need to realize. I was going to come in before the barrister came out to make a clarification. You see, what you don't fight to get, in most cases, you don't value. And that's one of the reasons why Nigeria is in a mess. You need to listen to some people, especially during that NSAS, what they said. And you need to see and also find out to know the level at which the government itself infiltrated the organization of that NSAS protest. The only snag that I have with that NSAS protest was because there was no end to it. There was no particular aim. The idea generally initially was just to protest against police brutality. And it's because of that special police unit called SAS, where people are arbitrarily picked up and they are killed, or they are locked up for years and you don't even get to hear about them until probably you have privileged information over things that are not worth it. But I'm glad the barrister also clarified those issues. As pained as we are, we need to understand some dynamics. There are so many things about us that makes it very difficult for us to do this and do this quickly like it is done in Kenya. One of them is the issue of religion. Another one is the issue of ethnicity. That is away from the government itself, that is oppressive. And I remember that during the NSAS protest, we spoke with some of the military men who were put on the streets to arrest people. And the question was, where are your family members? And they said they are at home. A particular major said he had 4 boys and they are far away in Nasarawa State, but he is in Abuja, arresting people and handing them over to the police. Now, the question is, what's the age of the eldest of your children? He said, I think it was about 15 or about 15 or 16. And we asked him, what are your plans for those children in the next 10 to 20 years? And he said, we were lucky we had somebody who was willing to listen. And he said, well, he doesn't, he's planning, he's working. So all he needs to do is just put everything together to see how he can raise those children properly to become something in the society. Of course, everybody would raise their children to become something in the society. But would the society allow those children become what they're supposed to become? That is the question. So you see, it's going to be a bit difficult, like Barrister said, in Nigeria, but it is coming. One day, it will get to its head. Now, some of those senators and some of those governors are beginning to feel it. The other day in Osun State, I think, a particular senator went home to visit his people during Salah. And he alighted from his vehicle and he was trying to just walk through the village to see his people and greet them. He was beaten up. While we don't preach violence, the people are aggrieved. And what was their grievance? You have not done anything for us since you've gone into the National Assembly. The only thing we've seen is you changing your clothes and, of course, change your vehicle. As a matter of fact, I was reliably told that he went to the village with one of those SUVs that was bought for 160 million naira. That is a village where they don't have roads, because you could see from the video, the amateur video that was shared, that the road was terrible. And I can tell you that they don't even have pipe-borne water. These same people would rather go and dig wells that is not up to 300,000 naira for those same people. And they would commission it with all for fair and whatever, and put it in the newspapers. They are more concerned about doing propaganda than doing the real work. But people are beginning to get to that point. Somewhere in the north, I'm not going to mention any the place now for security reasons, the people are beginning to say, if we don't push you forward, you will not go to represent us. People are beginning to do it. People are beginning to demand that, look, before you get there, there must be a plan. The plan is not going to be your plan. The plan is going to be a plan that is our plan. And that is what we lack in this country. When Barrister was talking here, he talked about the Mau Mau war. Those people who fought those wars, some of them are still around. Ruto was part of those people who actually protested then against the British, the colonialists. He was part of them. So it's a gradual process. While we commend what he has done, we need to also understand as Nigerians to remove ourselves from this mental slavery of always thinking that we can't think on our own or act on our own unless we rely on somebody to think for us. And it has nothing to do other than the fact that most of us don't look inwards to understand that we have some innate talents. We have the things that could make us great. Before the colonialists came, like I said in our last edition, there were ways and traditions, there were customs, there were laws that were followed. Why did we trash them for what the Oyinbos call democracy? Why did we trash them? Yes, it is good for you to accept ways of life of the people, but does it conform with your own people? And that is why they're having that problem in Kenya. It is gradually coming home. And that's one of the reasons why you see Burkina Faso, Togo, Mali, and Niger are under military rule. Because the people will tell you, whoever is in the military actually rose from a particular rank, understands the problem than a politician. A politician that will be thrown at you. Look at the way Tinubu appeared in the scene and even caught his own political party unawares and took power. Why? Because he just wants his name on the list as president. That's just the basic thing, truth. As I'm talking to you now, instead of solving all of the problems, the problems are mounting. This man, they're mounting. This man came and said, after his speech, and people were clapping and enjoying themselves, even people who don't have any business being there were there clapping at anything that the man said. He went on to tell us that subsidy is gone forever. As I'm talking to you now, queues are back to the streets of Abuja. And the reason is because some filling stations have decided that they're going to sell above the pump price of 617 naira that the government said they should sell. They are beginning to sell at 700 naira and above. And yet you have a government. You see, it is gradually building. It will get to a particular point where the government can't go back. NSAS is just like an expression of anger. And it is gradually building. It will surprise you that what is going to trigger, if we don't have the kind of change that we desire, what is going to trigger that change will be something that is going to be very, very minute. That people will think, that this is not supposed to be what will cause all of these problems, but it will come. It's a gradual thing. But then, don't forget those things that I told you about, religion and ethnicity. One of the reasons I heard you mention what happened that the whole of Nigeria should have participated. The governor of Kaduna State then, Nasir El-Rufai, threatened that if he sees anybody on the street campaigning or protesting against the government on this NSAS thing, that he was going to shoot them at sight. Those were his words. He was captured on camera, that he was going to shoot them. And, you know, the popular sites around Kaduna, the Nepa roundabout, Leventis roundabout, Sabo, in southern Kaduna, Kau and everything, they had military men stationed with armored tanks waiting for people to come out. I think the only way people could come out in Kaduna under that protest was through the NLC. Because I remember then the NLC chairman he was the one who led the group, and some of them were arrested, but summarily released. But after then, maybe 2 or 3 protests after then, they were called and they said they were going to have a dialogue. And you see, this is where the problem lies. This dialogue that we're talking about, you can't go to a table to dialogue with somebody who does not care about you, who just wants you to stop. Put a stop to what you're doing so that they can now round you up and do whatever it is that they want to do with you. As I'm talking to you now, there are hundreds of Nigerians who are languishing in jails. Why? Because they joined in the protests. Some of them were killed and their dead bodies were not returned. Remember what happened in Lekki toll gates in Lagos? The military denied it. The governor said he wasn't the one who gave the order, but he did not deny that people died. Not until people started showing videos, amateur videos of what happened that particular night. As a matter of fact, there were some foreign media who had an area view of what happened that night, and they showed it. And they even wrote that, look, people were killed, and the government of Nigeria must do something about it. But what did we get at the end of the day? We didn't get anything.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry, this is not supposed to be the topic of the day. We've actually stretched it. However, I actually wanted to say something, but let's move on because I wanted to say something with regard to some of the things you said. I have my own a kind of position to it, and because the truth is that sometimes, yes, some of the reasons you gave are germane. However, at this point in our lives as Nigerians, those reasons are not supposed to be holding water right now, because just like Peter Obi will always say, you go to the market, Muslim, whatever called bread does not cost different from does not know prices. Inflation does not know religion, doesn't know tribe, doesn't know everything. Hardship, nature does not have anything to do with religion or tribe. So it affects everyone. So, and we don't need anyone to preach to us to begin to say, hey, put your religion aside, put your tribe aside, put all sentiments aside, let's do the needful. They tell blind man, say rain they fall. So at this point, they're not supposed to tell us, say rain they fall. They're not supposed to tell us, say rain don't they fall. That is my point. Anyway, let's move to the next topic.